Yesterday, Donald Trump was interviewed, and the topic of George Floyd and the protests that have been sweeping across America for the past few months came up. Here's how he responded to it.
You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
I mean, you want me to take that?
Go, yeah. What do you got?
My thing is this, man. This whole crowd of people who only bring up white deaths when they can use it and leverage against black lives, right? Some of the I remember, is it Daniel Shaver? I don't want to call the wrong name. The young man who was gunned down in the hotel lobby by police officers. I covered that story, and it was one of the most horrific. I think it might be the most horrific police shooting that I have ever seen. But Donald Trump never mentioned it. Ben Shapiro, none of the mainstream conservatives ever mentioned it until they could leverage it against George Floyd. But so if they really cared about the white people who are being killed by the police, then they should be in solidarity with us. But they don't really care because they're willing to sacrifice a few lives to prop up white supremacy.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, his thing was, hey, don't ask me a question about black people getting killed. Way more white people get killed. And then he just sort of moves on.
Right.
Whereas like a rational person should be like,
okay with that? Are you okay with the number of white people that are being killed? It's just an afterthought. It's a footnote in your whole thinking process. I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
No, you're right. It's like, hey, no. Murderous cops are rampaging across America, killing everyone. Let's acknowledge it. They can't be stopped. They'll kill all of us. No, but then let's do something as a country.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at it, but how you framed it is exactly the level of absurdity that this whole thing operates in. Like, are you proud that the police are killing people who look like you at that same rate, right? Because the thing is if they don't make that statement, then they have nothing else. They have nothing left but the truth. And so instead of embracing the truth and trying to change that truth, they embrace the reality that they are okay with the police gunning down their family members. And I'm sorry, but I'm not.
No, exactly. And to the actual facts, this is one of the rare times where Trump is sort of factually right. He's still being incredibly dishonest and manipulative. So let's talk about the actual numbers. Nearly half of the people killed by police are white, while 23% are black. But black Americans, and we all know where this is going, only account for 13% of the population, are shot at a disproportionate rate compared with white Americans, who make up 60% of the population. So yes, you would expect in a country with way more white people that more white people would be killed. That does not mean that the problem is the same. It doesn't mean that at all. And when studies show that black men are roughly 3.5 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement than white men, that gets to be the story and the conversation.
Right. That's what they have to detract from, because if they actually looked at the numbers, right, as a matter of proportions, right, they of course the raw numbers are going to be the result showing that most white men are killed, mostly white people are killed by the police. That absolutely makes sense. But they have to deny the fact that black men are more than 3.5 times more likely to be killed than white men. And then 1 out of 1,000, I think in the same article, 1 out of 1,000 black men can expect to die at the hands of the police in their lifetime. So there is a problem. The problem is rooted in racism. The problem is also rooted in the police state. But what I always try to tell, particularly libertarians, is if you believe in the police state the way you say you do, then you have to acknowledge that it first started and was honed in the black community. And it was never gonna stay there. It was always gonna spill over into every other community. And that's exactly what we saw in the Minneapolis uprisings and all the uprisings across the country.
That's you just said one of the most amazing stats that I've heard, that 1 in 1,000. Then you think, if 1 in 1,000 are killed by cops, how many are shot by cops? How many are beaten by cops? How many are unnecessarily hassled and held up by cops? How many are continually hounded and harassed by cops? The numbers spiral out of control from there, and it's a starting point that's already such a tragedy that it should be a constant point of discussion across America.
President Trump, back in 2015, you said the Confederate battle flag belongs in a museum. Do you still believe that?
All I say is freedom of speech. It's very simple. My attitude is freedom of speech. Very strong views on the Confederate flag. With me, it's freedom of speech, very simple. Like it, don't like it, it's freedom of speech.
Would you be comfortable with your supporters displaying the Confederate battle flag at political events?
You know, it depends on what your definition is, but I am comfortable with freedom of speech. It's very simple.
But you understand why the flag is a painful symbol for many people because it's a reminder of slavery.
Well, people love it, and I know people that like the Confederate flag, and they're not thinking about slavery. I look at NASCAR. You go to NASCAR, you had those flags all over the place. They stopped it. I just think it's freedom of speech, whether it's Confederate flags or Black Lives Matter or anything else you want to talk about. It's freedom of speech.
He slid in there at the end, Black Lives Matter being equivalent to the Confederacy, against which Abraham Lincoln waged the Civil War. That is, I mean, the level of absurdity. I just can't take it. I'll be honest with you, John. There's so many ways to describe this that are not fit for television. But it's also the fact that he seamlessly interwove that false narrative, and his supporters run with it. And so now we're having to fight back against this idea that Black Lives Matter is equivalent to, and then the other part, and then I'll be quiet for a second because it is running my nerves off a little bit. Is the fact that he's just hiding behind freedom of speech, right? But freedom of speech is doesn't mean that you have freedom from consequences, right? And if somebody wants to fly their Confederate flag, then by all means. But then people have the right to not be associated with that person. Employers have the right to say, okay, this is not what we want in our corporate culture, right? Whether you agree with it or not, freedom of speech actually goes both ways. It's also our freedom to speak out against what they're doing and what they're saying. So I think hiding behind freedom of speech is a coward's move in this case.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to lump BLM in with the Confederacy. I mean, arguably it's better than Fox host calling it a terror organization and things like arguably both bad. And yeah, like is literally every person who's waving it thinking of slavery at the same time? I don't know, but it is weird. It seems weird that that's how far back you're going to identify with something that best case scenario, what do you know about it? That economically that's what it was. I just was watching a sketch from SNL from last year, and it was about a place where you can pick your own apples. And they said, we're in New York, the part of New York where you can find Confederate flags. And that's the thing, like people there are politicians who have Confederate flags that aren't remotely from the South. Like it's this obvious attempt to brand yourself because those people understand what they're trying to say about themselves and what the base is going to hear, or feel when they see it.
The unspoken thing there, I think one of the unspoken messages that's conveyed by the Confederate flag is ironically this idea of being the true American, right? Connecting with American conservative values and that you're like a real patriot, which is again the height of absurdity when you consider that that's the flag of treason. So we have the flag of treason being flown across this country, but yet we identify them as the real Americans.
It's like, okay, so you love the Confederate flag, Confederacy is the best thing ever, but you really like Lincoln? Like, could you choose one of those two things?
The party of Lincoln and the party of the Confederate flag, that is America in 2020. That's been America for the longest I can remember.
Exactly, I don't understand it. I did want to clear up one thing though. So she raised the question if he would be okay with his supporters flying the Confederate flag, and he asked, well, it depends on how you define it. And I don't know what that means. Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
No, if I were to give him some credit on the intellectual spectrum, I would say that he's trying to create a cover to say that we don't know how to read everyone's mind and everyone is going to have a different interpretation of what this flag means. And if you mean something positive, then okay, you're fine with us. But if you actually mean slavery, but I don't know that he actually thinks that deeply. And so he just said something and words came out of his mouth.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.